your home for all things Astros. With your hosts, sports writer Jeff Balke and Astros broadcaster and former third baseman Jeff Blom. Now, here's Balke and Blummer.
What is up, Astros fans? Welcome to episode 62 of the Believe in Astros podcast on the Believe Podcasting Network. I'm Jeff Balke alongside my partner Jeff Blum, both of us in a very rainy, gloomy Houston, Texas, but with the fresh shine of a win last night over the Blue Jays. And dare I say a shellacking of the Toronto Blue Jays, including former, quote-unquote, the one that got away, George Springer. I was in the press booth last night, and Brian McTaggart, sitting behind me, kept recounting exactly how far every ball that Springer hit that didn't go out, and he was like, by the end of the night, he hit a third one, like deep center field. And I turned around and I said, "How far is that?" He goes, "I'm calculating." He was like, yeah, exactly. And it was over 1,000 feet of loud fly balls for George Springer.
Welcome home.
Exactly. Plummer, how are you doing this morning?
I'm great. You're right. We had a couple of absolutely gorgeous days here Sunday, Monday. But Tuesday we woke up to the clap of thunder and some storms. So we're a little, as everybody loves it when I say it, we're a little moist this morning. But it's all good. I mean, it's that springtime, water the area, make it nice and green. It's gonna be great. It's fun. Exactly.
And it is moist out. That is disturbing, but I get it. I should be noted, as some of you have seen on Instagram, Blummer and I finally met in person last night.
We did it.
It was a miracle, I think, that has occurred. And as he said, I'm not actually just 3 feet tall.
Yeah, this day and age of AI, I mean, you could have been anything, but you actually showed up in the flesh. It was great.
I was thinking last night, you could have been thinking you were getting catfished, and really I was just some small, guy from like Honduras, or a woman from Canada. We don't know. It could have been a deep fake. I mean, you can't get away with it because you're on television. Although I don't know, they could be deep faking you and Todd Callis and Julia.
Yeah, as long as they don't deep fake the paycheck, we're good.
Speaking of which, I don't know if you saw this, but apparently someone out there calculated that players have actually received a raise this year because their hourly rate has increased, which I found hilarious. They said, like, Aaron Judge with the pitch clock is making $94,000 an hour. Without it, he was making only $78,000.
Oh my God, that's a massive jump, though.
Right, it's $20,000 an hour.
Jeez.
$20,000 an hour.
Oh, God bless.
Nice
him. God
work.
bless that Yankee money.
Get it? I know. Where's some of that? I need some of that Yankee money. I don't want to be in the Yankees, but give me some of that Yankee money. I'll take it. I will totally take it. So. You can find us on Spotify, Apple, Stitcher. Here's all the plugs for that. Of course, YouTube. Be sure to like and subscribe to keep up with us. Give us a follow on Twitter and Instagram at Believe in Astros. You can find me at Jeff Balke and Blummer at Blummer27. Also, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Keep it coming. We're trying to hit a number with that, and the number is a lot. That's not actually a number, but you know what I'm saying. We want to get over. A lot is a lot. We want to get there before Jose Altuve comes back. And here's the thing. Jose Altuve just got his cast off.
I know, man. Somebody said mobility, and I was like, what? So
he looks like he's in good shape. He's just got the little splint on there, which is like what you put on when you're a kid and you break your toe on your bike because you're riding your bike with flip-flops instead of tennis shoes. And if it sounds like I'm speaking from experience, it's because I am.
Yeah, I got your back. I've done the same. Skateboarding, barefoot, not good.
Exactly. Just got to tape them up. Just got to get that, when you're BMXing in flip-flops.
Yeah, if we get to that number, I'll show my skateboard scuffed feet. That would be really great.
Ew, nasty.
Yeah, not good.
Thanks to everybody who's given us 5 stars on Apple and left reviews. Please continue to do so. And obviously continue to send us your comments and questions. For example, we're going to do unsustainable or sustainable. Is this podcast sustainable? I say yes. Seems like it's pretty sustainable. Just going to say.
Yeah,
and we have a very small.
We could be more sustainable with more fans.
That's right. Correct. Yeah. That's up to you. And sponsors, by the way. Still sending out feelers for those. So I just can't emphasize enough how incredibly well promoted you would be. And it's
we're
not
affable, good looking, responsible. It's just amazing.
And it's not even the numbers. Will your sales increase? Of course. But really, it's more exponentially, exactly. But it's more about the quality level of promotion you'll get.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yes.
If you're associated with the
level of respect that your company will bring us is amazing.
Now, listen, that's not necessarily wrong. I'm just going to say. Well, first, I just want to say to start out, do not run on the field. Blummer and I talked about this yesterday. This guy. First of all, Channel 13 should not be running a story about the dude that runs on the field like an idiot after 6 beers. If you're drinking 6 beers in the first, although I don't know, was it the 8th inning now that they're allowing beers to be sold later in the game?
What's this guy's job? He's rich.
And he was saying, yeah, really 6 beers. I mean, what's that like?
That's like $300. Yeah, jeez.
But the thing is don't run on the field. First of all, as you and I were talking about yesterday, nobody knows who you are. Nobody knows what your intentions are. You'll be lucky to make it out of there uninjured, and who knows what these people are doing. So don't run on the field. And Channel 13, come on. Don't put this guy on TV talking about destiny. It's like, I felt it was my destiny after 6 beers. Like, everybody thinks something stupid like that is destiny after 6 beers.
I've had a lot of destinies if it only takes 6 beers to get there.
Right? But don't run on the field. I know, Blummer, you said, did you ever come close to an encounter like that when you were on the field?
I've been on the field with, when people have come running out there, and it's uncomfortable because, like you said, you just don't know, why did this guy come out here? Is it just check me out in, my Instagram or a bet with a buddy? And in my experience, there's only been one that's actually ended up okay, and that was the one when the guy ran out to Altuve because he's the sweetest man on earth. But, I've seen guys get tripped. I've seen guys get smoked. Montreal, I don't know why anybody ran on the field in Montreal, because the security guards, once they got their hands on you, there were some weird noises coming out from underneath the stands after those guys got caught. And it wasn't like, hey, man, why'd you do that? It was like, I was like, dang. So be careful.
That's hockey country up there, man.
Yeah, they don't mess around, dude.
They probably reached over his back and pulled his shirt over his head and then started wailing on him like a good hockey guy would.
Just a straight uppercut into the shirt. And But, don't you, I don't know if you spend the night in jail, but I know you pay a fine and you're probably blackballed, I think we talk about, from stadiums.
Yeah, this guy said he had to pay $100 fine, which whatever, that his beers cost more than that. But he had to spend the night in Harris County Jail, which, by the way, nobody wants to spend the night in Harris County Jail.
Sounds interesting.
Right. It's not good. I've never spent any time there myself. I'm trying not to break my no arrest streak. But I will tell you right now, I've known some people who've gone there for various issues.
Really?
And it's not a walk in the park. On top of that, he was banned from Minute Maid, supposedly a big Astros fan. Well, I guess you'll be doing that from your living room from now, bro.
Hey,
that's
more
not
listeners
cool.
for me. That's good.
That's exactly right. And by the way, speaking of more listeners for you, kudos to Blummer for the joke last night. It was so subtle. That was what was great about it. Slipping it in there about what's Bass's first name? I forget his first name.
It's not Kevin.
The reliever. It's not Kevin. That's why I keep
Anthony.
messing up. Anthony Bass. So Anthony Bass, if you hadn't seen it, reliever for the Blue Jays, posted on Instagram that he was on a United flight and his 2 daughters had made a mess with a bunch of popcorn, and he was mortified that the flight attendants made his pregnant wife, clean up the mess. And many questions arose from this, like, A, if you were on the flight, why did you not clean it up, sir? If your wife is pregnant. If you weren't on the flight, why did your children heave popcorn all over the place? And for the record, why didn't you just pick it up? I don't expect people to just randomly pick up after me like that. And certainly if I did, if it were some kind of issue, which, by the way, my apologies to the people cleaning the press box last night. I might have spilled popcorn on the floor, so I feel a little bit bad about that.
Look at you.
I know. I'm being stand up, right? But, dude, they're just working. You can't be cold about that because it's just not okay. And so anyway, Blummer during the broadcast slipped in a very lovely little joke about how Bass was coming in to clean up, taking over for Gausman.
I don't know.
Pretty
I've got
strong.
issues. Yeah, man. But I mean, I'm just having fun. And the timing of it couldn't have been better with the Astros with the huge lead. I was feeling giddy. I couldn't, that story took on an entire life of its own. It was covered everywhere. And I'm sitting there calling the game and he comes in and I'm like, oh man. And I'm just like, the urge builds with every step he took towards the mound. And I was just like, well, it's in baseball context and it's in social media context. So I was like, here we go. And I just said, hey, here's Anthony Bass here to clean it up, and I'm like, I just went with it. And, obviously it caught wildfire, but it was, it was punish. For being man, how about punish being a word for punishing? Wow, what just happened? But yeah,
there was a glitch in the matrix.
Damn, yeah. Wow, yeah, but I was just trying to have a little bit of fun. It was crazy to me. I wasn't trying to be vicious, mean, or anything. It was just an opportunity presented itself, and my 12-year-old inner self took care of it.
Hey, if you can't have a little fun out there, then what's the point? It's called a game for a reason.
Yeah.
Enjoy yourselves, people. And by the way, this guy opened himself up to it. That's on you.
Yep.
That's on you, son.
I was only like the 1 millionth person to make a comment about it.
I know. I was going to say, look, this is how we know. My wife, who does not really follow baseball other than through me, she knew about it. But when I went to tell her, she goes, oh, yeah, the guy with the popcorn on the floor in the United flag. So she knew about it. So if she knows, then and she knows a lot more than I do, but not as much about baseball. And speaking of pitching last night, was Gausman tipping his pitches? Because he was getting crushed. I mean, the guy leads their team in strikeouts. I even tweeted last night, you don't want to let him get in a groove. My goodness, 7 runs right out of the gate, the most runs they had scored since 2020 in the first inning. What happened out there to that guy? I mean, I'm glad it happened, but what happened?
Well, we all know that this offense needed something like that. We needed to see somebody other than Jordan and Kyle Tucker going out there doing damage, but I did not anticipate this at all. Doobie at the top of the lineup, he's been lit. He's smoking, whatever you want to call it. He has been on absolute fire, and it's amazing that he just goes up, first pitch, steps up, hits a rocket into center field, and all of a sudden, here we go. And I think it's a little bit of game planning, and I think it's a little bit of maybe Gausman was giving, a better indication of what his pitches might be. But at the same time, the split-fingered fastballs that he relies on didn't look as sharp as I've seen them in previous starts, because he punched out 10. He punched out 11 against Detroit, 10 of them on that split finger the previous start to get to that 25 strikeout threshold that you're talking about to set that Blue Jays record, which is outstanding. But the Astros did a very good job of laying off the pitch down in the zone. And we always had a theory when we were facing guys with good splits or good curveball was if it's high, let it fly, which means if it's up in the zone or if it's above the zone, it's going to break into the zone. Go ahead and let it fly, swing at it. And the other one was if it's low, let it go. So if you see it start in the zone, let that thing drop down out of the zone. There were a lot of check swings and guys were holding up. So there was the anticipation of that pitch. But at the same time, those guys did a good job of laying off. But man, if it was left in the zone, good Lord, the Astros unloaded, because there were some center cut fastballs that were in the middle part of the zone. The ball that Corey Julks hit out of him.
Oh my goodness.
That was a rocket.
Well, the exit velocities early on were off the charts. I mean, my goodness. It's interesting to me, too, because I tweeted that I said, this is what the Astros have done throughout this entire era that's made them so good. They don't swing at bad pitches. And when they do swing at a pitch, it's a pitch they want. And, it just seems like that's what they were doing last night. Jose Abreu with a huge double, which is good for him, obviously, because he's been struggling. And then Jake Myers. What in the hell happened to this guy? It's a home run the opposite field.
Dude, if there were prop bets in the middle of the game for what guys were going to do, you would have made a crap ton of money on that.
You would have made a boatload of money on Jake Myers. I mean, good Lord.
But you called it, though. We were standing there watching batting practice. Jake was having an impressive – it was a different batting practice, it felt like.
He was crushing balls like he, and there were certain guys out there that were just absolutely mauling the baseball. Jokes was one of them. Jake Myers was another one. And they just looked, we talked about that a little bit, that just looking like they were aggressive, like looking like they were wanting to hit home runs. They were wanting to, it wasn't like a batting practice of a veteran who's out there just kind of, I'm going to give it, kind of go each way and get comfortable. No, these guys were like, no, I'm going to murder this baseball every time it comes near me. And obviously that's
swinging with malicious intent.
Yes. I mean, they killed a lot of baseballs. And, and speaking of pitching, though, you talked about Gausman not having his best stuff. Christian Javier didn't either. I mean, he really struggled with his command, but, hustled his way to like a 1-run, 5 innings, still managed to sort of hold it together. It didn't hurt that they were up 7 runs after 1. But I don't know. Javier seems like he's been a little up and down early this season. And his command seems to be the biggest issue to me. He just can't seem to quite get into the zone. And when he does, he sometimes leaves it over. And I mean, he's given up more home runs, I think, than he did in half of last year or something. Yeah. Seems like that's an issue right now.
No, it is. It's the command. It's going to be hit or miss early on. I know that he's usually primarily at the top part of the zone with that fastball, and then you can throw that slider changeup down. But you would figure with a 7-0 lead to start the game, you just come out just pumping heaters, trying to get ahead in counts. But I'm trying to remember the number exactly because it kind of stunned Todd and myself in the booth. It was like something like 3 for 15, 16 as far as first pitch strikes. And that's a tough number to kind of deal with. And that's going to ramp up that pitch count. And that's why he was out after, 97 pitches in 5 innings because he was really struggling to get through that thing. But fortunately, he only gave up 1 run. The one positive I can take away from Christian Javier is 2 positives. His personality, exudes no panic. I mean, he's going to be frustrated, but I don't think he's going to panic. And I think he's going to, this process will clean itself up because he's good. The second thing is I saw the velocity in the mid-90s.
Yes.
The velocity jumped a little bit for me, and I kind of like that.
No, I agree with you. His velocity was up. I will say, look, even in the sense of not having command, quote unquote, he still threw 57 strikes and 97 pitches. So it wasn't like it was like at 30% strike ratio or something like that. I mean, it wasn't great. You'd like to see him a little bit higher than that, but it still was livable, especially again with a 7-0 lead after the first inning. The main thing I kind of want to get into today is I wrote a story for the press, and I want to go over the ideas with you. And this is to determine whether or not we think these things, I hinted at it earlier, are sustainable or not. This is early in the season. Obviously, the Astros now at 8-9. They need to go 3-2 to be 11-11 in April for the 3rd year in a row. Let's see if it happens. It's like I don't know what it is about 11-11. It's also weird because 11-11. There's I don't know if you've ever seen these people like to whenever it's 11:11 a.m. or p.m. People like to write 11:11 on Twitter. It's like a superstition. So I don't know if this is
I thought you took like your opposite elbow to your opposite knee and like for good luck. I just made that up.
That's a new one. That's a new one. It's weird. So maybe they're just superstitious. I don't know, but I'm going to say not. But I do want to see what you think about some of the sustainability or unsustainability of some of these guys so far. And I have 6 guys here that I kind of went over, and I want to get your take on these. So the first one is Mauricio Dubon, and obviously we've talked about him quite a bit. As you said, like can he continue like this? And you're like, let's see, let's let him, hopefully he can. Right now he's slashing 340, 357, 396, and 753 for OPS, which for Mauricio Dubon, I mean, he's not a slugger.
That's a guy that doesn't slug. Yeah.
No, not at all. But here's the crazy part. He's hitting 340. The best season he ever had with batting average was the 2020 COVID season for the Giants, where he was 274. Otherwise, he's a career 250 hitter. Like, that's his deal.
Don't judge. It's not bad.
I knew you were going to say that. I thought about it actually right when they said that. But he's a career 250 hitter who's hitting 340 at the moment. Yeah. Now, this can't possibly be sustainable, right?
Well, that's the thing is what's the sustainability? Is it the 340, 350 for a guy like Mauricio Dubon? Mm-hmm. Probably not. And I think even he would admit that. But as a ball player, you just ride this wave as long as you possibly can. But at the same time, that's how far does it fall? I mean, you get off to a great start like this. Yes. Maybe you drop down to 300. I don't know. Could he be a 300 hitter? If his approach is what it is right now, where he's on top of the baseball, ground ball, line drives everywhere, going to the opposite field, I think he could be, one of those guys that's like 280, 300.
Yes.
And I tell you what, if he's able to maintain a 280, 300 until Altuve comes back, tip of the cap, bro. I mean, you crushed it, and you went above and beyond and did everything that you possibly could. Thank you for your service. And he's turned himself into a piece if he's able to do that for another month or two. And that's what I think is really intriguing about this, is because the bench depth on this ball club probably isn't what you would hope it would be. Because you look across at the Toronto Blue Jays, you've got Whit Merrifield, Alejandro Kirk, and Espinal. Those are three pretty good ball players. One of them was an all-star with the Kansas City Royals. Alejandro Kirk is, he's gone for a batting title type thing, but
Espinal had a dinger last night.
Yeah. So those guys are good, but now you turn Mauricio Dubon into something similar to an Espinal, where you're like, okay, I can bring this guy off the bench in that 7th, 8th, or 9th to lead off an inning, and all of a sudden we've got a guy on base, or you bring him up with, kind of a guy that slashes the ball around the field with maybe a runner at third base less than 2. Why, he's turned himself into an option. And I think that's what's the best part about what Mauricio's doing, is he is now a viable option. I think it's great.
Right. Well, can he be the Astros this era's Tony Kemp? Where he just comes up there and slaps the ball around. I mean, that's
puts together a great at bat. Yeah.
Yeah. The other thing too, and I think you mentioned it about the bench. Like, a lot of people would say, no, we don't have enough bench depth. Well, we don't, because we have guys injured. Like, if you get Brantley and you get Brantley and Altuve healthy. Like, what does a bench with Corey Julks, David Hensley, and Mauricio Dubon look like, right? Yeah. I mean, all of a sudden, your options become much better, when those guys are healthy.
How about this? Mm-hmm. You ready?
I'm ready. Here. I'm always ready.
What positions has Mauricio Dubon played in the past?
He's played second. He's played center field. Up. You can see him doing some center, huh?
What if Altuve comes back and Mauricio moves to center with that bat?
It's an interesting call. How good defensively is he in center field compared to, say, Myers or Marisnik? Or not Marisnik, sorry, McCormick. There's too many M's in center field. Yeah, too many M's. And then, of course, right now we don't know what's up with Chas McCormick's eyeball, which is
I haven't heard any reports on that. It's kind of weird. I hope he's all right, man.
Dusty said yesterday that he's improving, but classic Dusty was like, I don't know. I'm not a doctor. It's a classic. He's just the coolest dude ever. Yeah, no, you're not wrong. You're absolutely not wrong. And then that doesn't even account for anything else. Like, is Pedro Leon eventually going to call up because he is just destroying the minor leagues? And you've got Corey Julks who can play the outfield. Like, they could really, and then, by the way, Yainer Diaz, who's still been hitting well.
Yeah. He's calling some great games. The dude doesn't give up. His catcher's ERA is unreal.
Yes. And so I'm very interested to see how the bench depth changes once we get a little healthier. Cause I think that argument's probably going to go out the window, because I think our bench depth will be good. It's just, like you said, they're all playing right now. They're not on the bench.
Could be like All-Star break. It could be a completely different ball club. I'm with you.
You're 100% right. Okay, so going on to the next one, Jose Abreu. Obviously had a big double last night, but when you look at his numbers, I mean, 239, 280, 282, 562 for OPS, which is, I mean, slugging 282 is horrible for that guy.
When your slug number is lower than your on base, you need to do some work.
Right. But also no home runs. He's got 3 doubles. But the other thing that really is startling about him, 19 strikeouts with only 3 walks. This is a guy who generally has pretty good plate discipline. He does strike out sometimes, but I think I looked up the numbers, and he's averaged about 132 strikeouts per 162 games in his career. He's never struck out more than 152 times. He's on pace for 170 right now. Wow. I think we talked yesterday. I watched him in batting practice. He was also out there for an extended time prior to batting practice, just by himself out there doing fielding drills, which I thought was kind of interesting because he was out there for quite a while. I feel like this is, for him, can't be sustainable. This is a guy who's eventually going to progress to the mean. Are his power numbers down? Maybe. Maybe last year wasn't an anomaly. But still, you have to figure at least this is a guy who, like you pointed out before, he's hit 300 with runners in scoring position for his career. Mm-hmm. You've got to figure that's going to come up at some point.
Yeah, and I'm going to cut him a little bit of slack because he's got new skin. He's been wearing those, black and white pinstripes on the south side for so long, coming into a new situation, replacing a guy that was beloved in the middle part of the lineup, protecting Yordan Alvarez. I mean, he comes in with a lot of expectation, the new contract, whatever it may be. I think he's just trying to settle in a little bit. He was kind of punching the ball around his first couple of days, with the Astros, but now I think the swings that we saw yesterday from Jake Myers, you got me doing it now. Jake Myers and Jose Abreu could be promising because they were malevolent swings. They were going after it, attacking, putting a power swing on it. Abreu hit that ball off the center field wall. It was an estimated 415 feet. If he just angles that a little bit more to the left or a little bit more to the right, he's got a 3-run home run. So hopefully that provides some of the confidence and instills some of the faith in himself to go out there and produce. And you do it against a guy like Gausman. And all of a sudden you say, okay, I put together some pretty good swings against a Cy Young contender more often than not. Maybe I've got something going here, but sometimes you just need to feel that ball off the bat, hear that home crowd cheer for you that one big time. And all of a sudden you're going, okay, I can do this. But we know defensively it's going to be tough to match up with what Yuli did. Yuli was spectacular at first base. So you just expect him to do good enough, I think, defensively, and maybe more time with Joe Espada makes him better.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think with him here, like you said, he is new. The thing with me is the contact. Like he's been struggling with contact, but the guy is someone who makes contact. He's a contact hitter generally. He's not a big strikeout guy. He's got generally a good eye. Those are things that you just don't assume are all of a sudden going to fall off a cliff. You can see the athleticism, maybe the power numbers, whatever, but his ability to hit the ball, make good contact. And look, last night, what was it, 116 off the bat for him, the exit velo. So he's obviously, it's all there. I feel like it's just a matter of him putting it together. It's just going to, which may take a little bit of time. Next up on the list, Hunter Brown. He's 2-0 with a 1.93 ERA. He's got 8.2 strikeouts for 9 innings and a 1.018 WHIP for Hunter. Listen, everybody loves to talk about Hunter Brown and Justin Verlander, right? He was his idol growing up in Detroit, and blah blah blah. And we've seen the side-by-side comparisons to their throwing motion. They're not the same guy. Verlander's a totally different guy in terms of how he pitches. And if even you get a tenth of Verlander out of Hunter Brown, it's a great career. But I don't know. I look at him and I think when I watch him pitch, he looks like a guy that he's not straining. He's not doing anything remarkable by his standards. He's throwing that hard slider. And honestly, his curveball has been ridiculous, and still throwing heat. I just feel like this might be, as the kids like to say, that he might be him. That just might be the deal.
Well, you kind of hope he will be who he has been the last two starts, because there was an opportunity in Minnesota to be a streak stopper, and you need those guys in your rotation, and it takes makeup and talent to be able to go out there and do that. So he showed a lot to me mentally to go out there and really kind of shove against the Twins and get his team an opportunity to win that ball game, which they did. And you're right, though. He was working with Yainer Diaz, and Yainer Diaz kept putting down the number 2 to bring that curveball, and he just did not have it the first 3 innings. The last 4 innings, he legit had it, so he got it back, which was impressive that he made the adjustment. And then you go into that last game he pitched, and he had errors behind him. He had a couple of misplays, and he didn't freak out. He didn't panic. He continued to go out there and compete, and actually got himself out of some tough jams. And that's what I like to see, is like the stuff. We know the talent's there. He's got, 95 plus on the fastball. The slider's 92 to 94, for God's sakes. And then he has a hammer. If he develops a changeup, that would be just another weapon that he's able to go out there and compete against left-handed hitters with. But I think that what he's shown me in the last 2 starts upstairs from the neck up is something that is kind of intriguing. And that's where I question, can he sustain that? Because if he can sustain that kind of poise with his stuff, then you've got a guy who's potentially going to be a very good pitcher in your rotation.
And the thing to me, watching him out there too, is that the one place where you can say, okay, here, that's kind of Verlander-esque. His velocity doesn't dip late in games. That was something he can, and that's something not all guys have the ability to do. That's a unique skill to be able to reach back and hit 96, 97 when you're in the 7th inning.
And you know what else is unique to me about Hunter Brown is something that I kind of harped on his last start. In his big league career, he's a 60% ground ball guy.
Is he really?
And it's ridiculous. And now all that tells me a couple of things. It tells me that when guys play behind you, they're going to be alert, because the ball's being put in play, and it's being put in play on the ground. So I'm going to make a play behind you. The second thing is, a ground ball is a fantastic way to get out of a jam when you have given up an error, when you have given up a cheap base hit. Don't panic. Get the ball on the ground. Guys turn a double play, and you're walking off the field. And that's happened for him a couple of times. And I'm sure he realizes that. But that's a stark difference from what Justin Verlander is, who is heavy on the fly ball.
You're right. And it also kind of seems to me that means guys are hitting over the top on pitches. So they're not, they're not seeing the ball. It's not riding in there. Especially with the curveball, that thing has a huge break to it. So these guys are not seeing that ball well when it's coming out of his hand. And that's something to me that if you keep that going, that's going to also, it just changes the dynamic of their whole pitching rotation. Really. I mean, we expected him to be good, but I mean, he's their 5th guy. But
think about what just happened in the most recent series when you did see Hunter Brown. I mean, Framber Valdez pitched his ass off and didn't get the win, but you saw 7 innings from Hunter, 7 innings from Framber. That's in back-to-back starts. That actually looked kind of cool on watching that unfold.
And you had to, and that was one of the things we talked about, was the one worry about losing Verlander is his eating innings. Being a guy that can come in, you got the bullpen has been stretched out. You need a guy to come in. I thought Dusty Baker handled the bullpen so well last night in a game that was way out of hand. He lets Maton, the serial killer, because the guy is expressionless.
Is Phil Maton sustainable? Because that dude is a badass right now.
It's a really good question. He comes in, goes 2 innings. You let Seth Martinez come in and go an inning, and then Ryan Stanek to finish it out. You really didn't put any pressure on anybody. It's just I thought it was really smart how he handled that, especially after you only got 5 innings from Christian Javier. That was really good. So let's go to the other side of the plate in terms of pitching, and that's Luis Garcia. 0-7 with a 7.71 ERA. He's still throwing 9.6 strikeouts per 9, which is, kind of unbelievable considering the ERA.
Cutter is hellish, man.
It really is. He just, and it's a 1.857 whip. It feels to me like the biggest problem right now is people are just crushing his fastball. They are just his fastball is just catching too much of the zone. Have you noticed any velocity changes or anything, or is that one part of it?
I can't remember who he faced last time out. Might have been Martin Perez. I'm not sure. It was in that Texas series, but both pitchers were down, almost 1.5 miles on their fastball. And, when you lose a mile and a half and you consistently throw 95, 96, it's not that big of a deal. But when you throw 93, 94 and you lose a mile and a half on your fastball, that's a big deal. It all of a sudden becomes very visible and very hittable. But it was also interesting to hear his post-game comments where he wasn't he was like, hey, man, I thought I pitched all right. So, what we see and what he feels may be two totally different things. And hopefully it starts to trend in the right direction because he's confident enough in his stuff. The easy thing is to go, Rob Manfred screwed him by taking away his, rock the baby situation, which gave him rhythm. I don't know what it is, but I think he's good enough, big enough, strong enough, smart enough to go out there and fix it. I just hope he does, because you're right. The last, when you go out there and start your last start with a 7 ERA and you walk out of that start with a 7.71, you're like, okay, we need to see these numbers start to trend in a different direction. But hopefully, that cutter use is really what saves him most of the time. Right. Being able to get the swing and miss, because that is a very, very good pitch for him. But like you said, if you can't use that to set up your fastball or use the fastball to set up your cutter, you're going to be in trouble.
Well, it feels like if he's going to be even just a little bit down in velocity, he's going to have to start locating better. Because I looked at his key.
Greg Maddox, that's what he preached. Yeah.
Right. I looked at his chart on Fangraphs to see, and like his fastball is almost entirely right in the zone, like right in and so it's just, you're going to have to locate better if you can. I worry about look, I was the one who said I thought Luis Garcia was going to be one of the more improved Astros this year.
I was with you. I thought the same thing.
I'm hoping I'm wrong. We'll see. Next up, Jeremy Pena. Right now, he's slashing 217, 289, 391, and 680. Not horrible in terms of he's got to bring the OPS up a little bit. But the thing with Jeremy Pena right now is the strikeouts. He's got 19 strikeouts, 4 walks. That's just, you can't do that. And it's no wonder that, you had to get him out of the leadoff spot. You can't have that many strikeouts and be in the leadoff spot. Is this an adjustment period, do you think, for him, that something he's going to adjust to and improve over time? He obviously has the skills for it.
Yeah. What did we see? We've only seen Jeremy Pena in the big leagues once, and guess what happened? The very same thing. And guess how it finished for Jeremy Pena? He had an electric September and an even better October. So I think just kind of I don't think what he's doing is sustainable. I think he's going to get better. I think that he is going to be fine. He's going to figure it out. The chances that he gets on base, he's going to be stealing. He still brings quite a bit to the ball club. It's just a matter of getting on base a little more consistently. And we all know this. I have harped on it. I've said it for the last 7 or 8 years at the Astros. When they're right, lay off pitches out of the zone, force the pitcher in the zone, and then they go to smash town. And that's exactly what Jeremy Pena is going to eventually figure out is, okay, I see the slider early. I lay off the slider. Oh, here's a slider in the zone, crush. And, that's just, I think maybe this is just his arc. We've become accustomed with Alex Bregman having slow starts. What if Jeremy Pena is just another one of those guys that has slow starts and then finishes incredibly strong? And that's just who these guys are. I think we're just trying to figure out who exactly these guys are, but Jeremy Pena is going to be fine. Yeah,
I agree with you. I think he's just, I would love it if the light bulb went off at some point. It happens with so many guys where they struggle a little bit with the strikeout. They struggle, and all of a sudden something happens. And they just sort of see the ball differently. And, then before you know
they're bussing.
Yeah. Got me. No, I agree with you 100%. All jokes aside, I do think that Jeremy Pena is going to bounce back from all this. I do. Which brings me to Alex Bregman, right? We just talked about notorious slow starter. He's hitting 197. This is the craziest stat. He's slugging 303, but his on base is 338, which is, that's because he's walking all the time. The guy's still
cut down on strikeouts big time.
Yeah, give him credit. Credit to Bregman for the fact that he's not able right now. He's just not hitting the ball well. He's never been. He's not a guy that's hit 280, 293. That's not who he is. He's always been around 260. But the thing with him is that he is really good at drawing walks. And so credit to him for getting on base regardless of the circumstances with his hitting. But I mean, is this like, do we feel like this is early season Alex Bregman just, needing to round into shape?
Yeah, I mean, he was great in the Pittsburgh series. He was smashing baseballs all over the place, got a couple of bombs. He's just such a tireless worker. And in my experience, watching those guys who work hard, work smart, usually end up okay. And I think Alex Bregman is one of those guys. And I think that by the end of this, we'll go, man, remember that slow start? And all of a sudden he's got, 15 to 20 home runs. He's driving and run. He's going to score. At the rate he gets on base with the people hitting behind him, he's going to score 100 runs.
Right.
His defense has been fantastic. I mean, he may even go out. I mean, I would imagine by the end of the year, he's in that Gold Glove contention at third base. And, what is Alex Bregman? Is he the 40 home run guy? Is he the 25 to 30 home run guy? I think we're still trying to figure out who he can be consistently. But I think if he's at 260, 270 with, 15 to 20 and, knocking in 90 and scoring 100, I'm pretty comfortable with saying that he could get back to those numbers.
Yeah, well, you mentioned the glove work. Man, that catch last night he made on that foul ball sliding into the wall. I mean, he's I mean, obviously Gold Glove sometimes it goes with guys that hit too. So I'm assuming he's going to hit, which I don't know why that would be the case. It's called the Gold Glove, not the Gold Bat, idiots. But
analytics now are kind of trending in the glove direction as opposed to the hitting. So fortunately, that should help him out.
But man, he is spectacular at the hot corner.
Yeah.
And I kind of wonder, Blum, I watched that last night and I thought about you. Like, how do you deal with the presence of the wall as you're going? I mean, like, are you looking? Is it because you can't want to take your eye off the ball, but like, how do you deal with the proximity of that and sort of what that means when you're trying to make a catch over there?
Well, it was at his home ballpark, so he has a really good idea of what's over there and how many steps it takes. You feel the feet, you feel your warning track under your feet. But there's a certain timing mechanism, and there's this awareness that you have when, that court sense that everybody talks about, knowing where guys are out on the court and kind of having it in your peripheral. But, Alex is a very good third baseman who knows where that fence is. And when you first take off, you've got an idea that baseball is going to be near the fence. You take a peek and you try and gauge how quickly you're moving, how high the ball is. And, you're doing geometry in the matter of minutes or seconds in order to go over there and figure it out. But I think once you throw your body at that baseball, that's when you're throwing caution into the wind. And I was very impressed with his ability to go out there and do that, because considering the circumstances with a large lead, but you had a pitcher struggling. So he picked up Christian Javier. That was personal for him to go into that fence and make that catch. And that's what I love about Alex, is he's constantly thinking about the team first and what kind of impact it's going to have on everybody else. And he made that play. But going into those fences, it's not easy. It's a calculated risk, and hopefully you have enough experience over there to know how to handle it. But all those, it's just funny to me. If you go back and watch, the beginnings of Minute Maid Park, those were iron fences.
They were?
In that first row. They weren't padded.
Oh, God, who made that decision?
Well, somebody who'd never played third base.
Would that in Tal's Hill? Between those
seriously.
Two things. Like,
somebody who wanted to watch the game instead of actually having to play it.
Let's make an iron fence on third base and put a flagpole in the middle of center field. That seems like a great plan. Like, Blum, on that, speaking of that, did you ever wind up in the lap of somebody when you were going after a ball?
I've lunged in there. I haven't actually fully fallen into the stands, but I've reached maybe a good row or two back in. I mean, I had a play in San Diego where I think I put my hand on somebody's chest and kind of leaned in there accidentally because I was headed that way, but I never actually fell in, thankfully.
See, I often wonder about if when you're running towards a wall, if the fans make a difference, right? Because if they're over there yelling,
they did, not anymore.
Well, yeah, I just feel like the Doppler, the effect of getting closer to the noise, must have some impact on that. But that's fascinating. All right, last guy on this list, I want to discuss sustainable or not, is Corey Julks, because, and honestly, he wasn't even on my list until I was sitting in the press box last night. I was like, this guy
story of the year.
Right. Like I kind of said, and I said in my story that leading up to spring training, we were all thinking about Pedro Leon and his potential impact on the outfield. Corey Julks was not on the radar. He's a late blooming major leaguer. He's been in the minors for 6 years. He's 27 years old. On top of that, he was not a great hitter until really like just the last year and a half, where they did some tweaks to his swing mechanics, and all of a sudden he developed power that he hadn't had previously. Right now he's slashing 317, 310, 537 with an 847 OPS, 2 home runs and 3 doubles. And in my story where I said sustainable versus unsustainable, I just wrote, please God, make it sustainable, because this kid is just ridiculous. I'm so impressed with how good he has been. And not just that, but how poised he has been, considering the fact it's taken him a long time to get here. So he's really paid a lot of dues, and he's from here, so the pressure that puts on somebody when they're from the hometown, you're playing in your hometown, you've struggled to get there. It's just so impressive to me so far.
No, he's the story of the season so far for me. I mean, I know Mauricio Dubon, but he's got big league time and he's made adjustments, which are great. But I think the story of the year right now is Corey Julks, because we were in camp, we're like, man, last year, 31 home runs, 90 plus RBIs. You're going, this guy's great, made the adjustment. Can he make the team? You're kind of like, well, you could make a case or you could not make a case. I don't think anybody would be shocked if he had to go back to AAA. And then we broke camp, and here's Corey Julks on the big league roster. And you went, wow, okay, here he is. Let's see what he can do. And like you said, I appreciate the hell out of guys who have had to struggle a little bit to get here, because they appreciate being here so much more. And then you put on that star and that H. I can only imagine the joy that he had when he put that on for the first time, knowing that he grew up watching this team. Right. He sat in the stands in 2022 to watch them win a World Series.
Unbelievable.
And now he gets to wear the uniform and help this team compete, hopefully, for another World Series. So I love the fact, and I also love that we're learning more about him as a ball player. Plays a competent left field, made a great play in Pittsburgh. Obviously can play a very good left field here at Minute Maid Park. He's adjusting his in at bat adjustments are kind of showing up a little bit. He swung at a slider off. Zach Pop last night against the Toronto Blue Jays, and he kind of chased out of the zone. Zach Pop went out there again with that slider, and Corey Julks spit on it. I was like, okay, he's going to school and learning real quick here, so I appreciated the heck out of that. And then if you put his record when he starts, I think is 7-2, 8-2 when he plays.
It was somebody said last night that it was like somebody said 8-0, which I don't think is right.
It's not
but
undefeated.
It's like 8-2. Yeah, it's something crazy like that.
Guess what the Astros are when he's not starting?
Oh, well, I can't do the math.
They have 9 losses. 0-7.
I mean,
so I'm gonna stroke that a little bit for him too.
I mean, look, the thing I can't get over, and you mentioned it, like the in bat adjustments. I saw him step out of the box with 2 strikes. Which you don't think much of it, right? But that's something that's something a lot of guys are doing. You see Jose Abreu do it. You see Alex Bregman do it. Guys are like, okay, this is my chance to step out and take time to sort of gather myself. He's figured it out already. Now, granted, he's been playing with these rules in the minors, which has got to help at least a little. But man, it's just so impressive and really kind of a swing to me. That I don't know what mechanics they changed. I don't know what they did, to help, but he has a swing that it translates, right? It's kind of a compact swing. It's not a big wide open swing. He looks like a guy who can hit the ball, not just for power, but he looks like the kind of guy who he makes contact. He doesn't strike out a ton, he has good plate discipline. It's pretty remarkable for a kid. I mean, we say this, he's 27. He has played for a while. But God, man, to make that move, because we've seen it so many times before with guys who are just good in the minors and they get up to the majors and just something happens and they just don't play well at the major league level.
And that's a credit to Dana Brown, Dusty Baker, Snicker, Cintron for seeing something internally in Corey Julks that translated to this guy would be a good addition to our ball club.
Especially given the fact that we were all starry-eyed over Justin Dearden all spring. That was
snowed over. Yeah, man.
We were just like, and not to say that Dearden won't eventually make his way up here too, but this is again where we talk about how so many times we, and you less than me, but certainly many of us are playing checkers while the people in charge are playing chess, and they saw it.
That's why we have the podcast.
That's exactly right. All right, kids, we're done playing that fabulous game we like to call sustainable or unsustainable. I'm going to bring this back later in the year because I feel like there's some good stats out there. Like finally the Astros are turning around the strikeout walk numbers.
Yeah.
It's like for a while there, that was terrifying for a while. I was like, oh no, and I started thinking, is this what we're going to be? And then I realized we're dealing with the Astros, and the Astros don't strike out a crap load and then walk never at all, well,
we know this.
I just, but I doubt it. I doubt it for a moment. So who knows? All right. Thanks for joining us today, everybody. Blummer, any final thoughts? You got a couple more Blue Jays games. When do you go back out on the road? Is that next week? Is it over the weekend, or are you still here?
Thursday. Yeah, we go to Atlanta. This is a pretty good stretch for the Astros. It'll be a test. They've got 2 more with Toronto, 3 with Atlanta, 3 with Tampa Bay before they come back home. So yeah, we'll be out on the road next week.
Nice. Well, and then you'll be back just in time for. I'm not going to say it. I'm going to save it. Someone's birthday is coming. That's all I'm going to say.
My triplets, man.
Nice. Also, I will mention that we will be back on Saturday. We're going to do a Saturday morning because guess what? The kid here has jury duty on Friday.
Oh my!
Yes, that's right. Now, here's the good news, and this is something everyone should know. I have municipal jury duty. So if you get municipal jury duty, you absolutely, desperately want to get on a jury panel. Do you know why you want to do that for municipal jury duty? Because guess what? Municipal jury duty is over at the end of the day. So no matter what happens, it's municipal jury duty is like DWIs and, small offenses, stuff like that. So you go in there, it's like a small group of people, you get picked, you're in there for like half a day, it's all over, and then you're exempt for 3 years. So the next time you get called for municipal jury duty, don't be like, oh crap, be like, yes, this is my chance. I'm going to go in there and pretend to be the best juror of all time. I'm going to be foreman. Like I'm going to control the whole thing. It'll be like,
make everybody call you George.
It'll be 12 happy men, not 12 angry men in this case. I'm going to be in there. But we will be back with a fresh pod brought to you by Bet Online. Huge thanks to all our listeners and viewers all over the place. You guys are awesome. Keep liking and subscribing. Keep subscribing to that YouTube channel, man. See some more people on there because it is absolutely 100% worth it. And check out Insta because there's plenty of good content that's coming on there. Super thankful for everybody. Keep it coming. You guys have a great week, and we'll see you on Saturday. Go Astros.